guys, and welcome to the Dove's
Nest.
Nest. Welcome back to our channel for those of you who are new to our channel. And if you are a subscriber, thank you so much. We love you so much. Thank you for joining us. For this episode, we have our sweet little girls joining us. Girls, say hi.
Hi, I'm Madison.
You gotta look at the camera.
I'm Maddie. That's Ava. That's Taylor.
No, you say your name.
I'm Maddie.
Look at the camera.
I'm Maddie.
You are who? No, you're Noelle. Yes, and this is Grace. Say hi, Grace. Say hi. Can you say hi? Hi. Is there something that you would like to share? You want to share something?
So me and Maddie got baptized
No,
today.
Maddie and I.
Maddie and I got baptized today.
No, baptized. Say it one more time.
Me and Maddie got...
Maddie and I.
Maddie and I got baptized at church today.
They did, and we're super proud of them.
Super awesome.
I was so scared. I was really brave at first, and then when I was like breathed by the thing,
I could see.
It's just all wet.
You got some of the
opened my
water in.
eyes.
At least you don't have to do my hair.
I opened my
we don't have to
eyes
worry
in the
about
water
your
and I
hair.
was like, and it didn't hurt my eyes.
So basically what happened is when the Holy Ghost started to flow on you and you started to feel the ghost, you started to get a little scared. Because the Holy Ghost power started to come on you.
No, but one of the sisters at the church said that Maddie, when she came out, she said she felt like a new creature. Is that true? You felt like a new person, right?
Well, you said creature.
That's
A
the
new
same
person.
thing. That's more biblical.
I said that
But
in
you
the
said you felt
bathroom.
like a new person, right? Have we been acting like a new person?
Not really, no.
So we got to work on that.
And this is a prime example of what
I
you
don't
do.
remember.
Oh, okay.
You don't remember.
Well,
All
church
right.
member.
I can flashback.
You get flashback? As Ava kisses at the camera constantly.
That's
Yeah, now I
a
remember.
move.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. And Daddy and I are going to continue on with our video, okay?
All right.
All right.
All right,
You all
cool.
go play. Love
Y'all,
you.
hey, listen. Y'all don't be making a lot of noise, okay? Don't make a lot of noise.
All right, bye-bye. All right, so we are back. And today we would like to share with you lessons that we've learned throughout the course of this 11 years of marriage. It seems like we've been married forever.
Yeah.
But, no?
Yeah. I don't know.
Seems like
That's
we've been
good.
together
That's
like
That's good.
through all eternity. But throughout the course of our marriage, we have learned so much and we would like to share. Hopefully you want to hear it. Do you want to hear it?
I think they want to hear it.
Do you?
Hey, listen. Get your phones out. Get your Evernote app. Shout out Evernote. Get your little notepads if you got pen and paper. Big. Shout out to Big. We bigging you out of here.
I don't know if I've heard of that,
I
but
don't know who Big is. Oh, don't worry
carry
about it.
on.
Anyways, get it out because we're about to give you lessons for 11 years, starting now. You didn't have to be too more. I don't know if it came on my thing because I don't know if that
Can you
came on
not
my
do
thing.
that?
I bet.
All right, so my number one is that the first year of marriage can be one of the hardest years of marriage. For us, it was pretty difficult because we both had somewhat different ideologies, backgrounds, views on what marriage should look like. So the two of us becoming one was somewhat hard because we were trying to figure things out. We were still growing up. We were 21 when we got married.
Yeah, around
20, 21. So
Yeah.
still young,
Super
trying to
young.
navigate through life and also trying to figure out how to navigate in a home with another person, you know? So that was kind of difficult for us. I know many people say you go through that honeymoon phase, and we did go through our honeymoon phase, but we found it difficult as well trying to the whole marriage thing out our first year.
Yeah, and you know, kind of piggybacking off of that, I think my number one on my list would simply be the lesson I learned was how selfish I was. Man, I was super selfish, and I think the more that I even get into marriage, I see that selfishness like kind of even more. It's almost like marriage shows you. You think that you have humility. Mm-hmm. You think that you know, everybody tells you, hey man, you know, you look out for everybody else, you know, coming into marriage. But marriage pulls on this thing in you that says, you know, you matter, but you're not the most important anymore, you know. And so with that, it helped me realize how much more I needed to grow in humility, how much more selfless I needed to be, how much more focused on my family, focused on my children, focused on their needs, my wife's needs, that I really, really, really needed to be. Now, not saying I'm not important, but the most important is the well-being of my family, because if they good, I'm going to be good.
Yeah, that kind of goes with what I'm saying, because our backgrounds were different. Although Gordon has 5 sisters, he didn't grow up with them. He grew up by himself in the house. So it was 4 of us, and I had a twin sister. So I was more prone to share and to always consider somebody else, versus you growing up in a house by yourself, not really knowing how to be willing to give to someone else just naturally. So we work through that. So the second lesson that I've learned in marriage is not to have unrealistic expectations. I've had to learn that the hard way. Coming into marriage, I watched a lot. Let me get closer. I watched a lot of romance movies. So I thought going into marriage that I would just have this happily ever after. Every day would be blissful. My husband would just come and he would be my every beckoning call. And that he would just love me and just shower me with gifts and presents. And that he would just be so... That was my view, So coming into marriage, and getting into the everyday dilly-dally of it, I realized very quickly that it's not the way it seems in movies. Our marriage is wonderful, but it's not the depiction that I had looking at the movie screen, okay? So I had a lot of unrealistic expectations. There were things that I expected Gordon to do that just weren't feasible for him. They were just not in his character. It was just not a part of who he was. So I learned very quickly to just accept him as who he is, try to work through his character, my character, his personality, my personality, and, go from there.
Yeah, so my number 2 is, I'll just jump right in. I chose that for my number 2 as well. Don't set unrealistic expectations. The same thing. That's my number 2. Don't set unrealistic expectations. I wrote a few things down. I wanted to be kind of concise with you to give you something to kind of go with. And it was, realize that your thought of what a relationship should be and the reality of what your relationship actually is 2 totally different things. And so, like Martha said, she had a thought of what a relationship should be. And what ended up happening is she came into our relationship, and then it wasn't the reality of what our relationship was. And so what happens is when you do that, you don't really give your relationship an opportunity to develop to its full potential. And so, your expectations almost limit the potential.
Coming into marriage, I learned very quickly that that's not how it goes. It can be a bit of a pull and a tug. There's work that has to be done. But it is beautiful. It is worth it in the end. However, just that process in between, I didn't see it in the movie per se. So I carried that into my marriage. And when my husband wouldn't necessarily fit a certain role, I would get really upset. Like, hold up. This is not the Prince Charming that I saw. Can you be somebody else? So just having the wrong expectations kind of took a toll in some regard as it relates to our marriage, but that was a lesson that I learned very quickly. Okay. I learned to just let him be him.
Yeah, and I think that's a phrase that we use quite often in our marriage. Can you be somebody else? Oftentimes in our marriage, we look at each other and say, hey, man, I just really wish that you could be someone else right now.
Yeah, like if I'm getting on his nerve or he's getting on my nerve.
I just say, hey, can you
be somebody else?
Can you just be someone
Please?
else? Just for 5 minutes, because you are too much.
Oh, Lord.
And so that'll be my number 2 as well. Like, that will really, really be my number 2, setting unrealistic expectations. So here's the thing. When you set unrealistic expectations, you really, really hinder the potential of your relationship. Mm-hmm. You literally hinder it. You kind of put a ceiling on it. And so you come in with this ideal of what you think it should be, and it is not your reality. Mm-hmm. And the moment you do that, you start putting this cap of expectations on. And when God is literally saying, hey, I'm trying to shift and make your relationship something great, but your expectation of what you think it should be is literally hindering God from growing you and showing you and building you and lifting you, because your expectations is causing you to be bitter when things don't go that way, when you're not on track or you're not on the time course that you've set in your mind where you should be. Hey, we should be here by this many years. We should already have a house. We should have this saved. We shouldn't have this particular debt. That should be gone. You start doing this and that and this, and Julie and Meet the Browns are here, and Michael Jackson and them are here, and there. And then you create this crazy bitterness because of this expectation, this fantasy world that you set that you thought a relationship should be, and then you're hindering yours. And when your spouse or your mate is saying, wait a minute, we're on time. I mean, we're not, what, right? And so, yeah, setting unrealistic expectations will hinder the potential of your marriage. So, yeah, that's my tip. All right, the third lesson that I learned in 11 years would probably be the importance of keeping your word. The importance of keeping your word. I would say this to all men and women alike. It kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. Because, growing up, you shooting the breeze with the guys. Yeah, man, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You're just talking. You don't quite do it. You don't quite mean it. You think everybody knows that you don't mean it. Well, when you get married, you can't do that. Once you're married, when you say something, your mate literally is holding on to your every word. So then what ends up happening is you start creating these little tidbits of distrust, untrust. In other words, they don't trust your butt no more. Right? That's what ends up happening. They start to look at you, and when you say things now, even at the moment you mean it, because you haven't kept your word so many times, you're saying something and you mean it, and you want to get your family on board, you want to get your wife on board, and she's like, well, I'm just having a hard time believing you.
Yeah, because it could be something as simple as Gordon telling me, well, I'll be home in 10 minutes. And I'll be sitting there waiting for the 10 minutes. 10 minutes have passed, and it'll be like an hour, 2 hours later. So now when he goes out, my fourth lesson would be, although you've given the vows, and the vows typically say that for better or worse, that you're going to love each other no matter what, that we still have to work towards strengthening that love. You still have to work towards making sure that your partner is attracted to you. Oftentimes, we as women, we kind of fall off, we get comfortable, we have a lot of kids, and we make the decision that, I'm married to this person, I no longer have to pursue them, I no longer have to try to keep them. Well, I've learned over the course of the years that, no, that's not right. I try daily to make sure that I'm keeping myself up. Even after having 5 children, I'm really still trying to maintain a certain weight. Not that that's going to affect his love for me, but for me in particular, I've learned that I definitely want to try to make sure that it's for better. And if worse comes, it will be circumstantial, not something on my part that I've inflicted upon the relationship. Okay?
It's good stuff. That's awesome. All right, my number 4 would be don't hold grudges. Out of the 11 years that we've been married, that would be my number 4. You can't keep things in your heart. It's almost like you storm away. You wait for an opportunity to leverage them against your mate, to bring them all the way back up again. And then you end up reliving the same moment before in the past that you've already gotten through. And so then once you do that, you start harboring this unforgiveness because of the grudges that you've been holding. And so now people don't realize that unforgiveness is like it's a prison. And it's like a prison that you put your relationship in. You put yourself and your partner in. And the sentence of unforgiveness is literally a lifetime. When you hold grudges and you let unforgiveness sit and fester in your relationship, you might as well go ahead and lock yourself in a cell of unforgiveness for a lifetime. And you will never be able to get out. You literally stunt the growth and development of where God wants to take you in that relationship, where where the flourishing and the next level is over. Literally, you will never get there because you're harboring that unforgiveness.
So I guess you're saying that every day we need to give each other a new start.
Yes.
Every hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was one of my actions.
My number 5 would be that you never really know a person. Even if you're married, say, like us, 11 years or 20, 50, so odd years, you never really get to fully know your spouse. We both evolve throughout the course of the years. We all change, so as that change happens, there's always something new that you can learn about your spouse. sometimes we get to the point to where we feel like our spouse, their actions, their behaviors are just predictable. But every day I've learned something new about Gordon. I have, a few things down pat that he's going to do, but sometimes he surprises me and it's not all bad. Sometimes it's really good.
Which would I would fall into, what point is this?
5.
Yeah, and the crazy thing, to piggyback off of her 5, my 5 would simply be listen twice and speak once. And I think that's actually flowing together with you never really know your spouse. My side would simply be to listen to your spouse so you can get to know them. One of the things that I wrote down when I was thinking about this, and Martha's been getting on me, she was like, man, you write this up down, you get a flow. And I'm like, man, it's so serious because I really, really, really want to express the sentiments of my heart to you guys. Listen to your spouse. Listen twice and speak once. Because here it is. Oftentimes, your spouse is literally telling you things in normal conversations. Like, you miss so much when you just talk all the time. Mm-hmm. Like when you're just over talking and you guys are competing on who's getting their point across and who's this and who's that and who's this, that, and the third. What ends up happening is you miss so many small details that your partner is literally telling you. They're crying out in conversations. Like even when they're talking to family members, they might be saying something and kind of correlating it to you. If you pay attention, you can pick up on things. You say, wow, that's what they're like. Oh, wow, that's how she feels. Oh, wow, that's how I make her feel because of how she's responding to one of her friends she's talking to about their relationship. And you see how she's responding with so much passion. Oh, shoot, I better not do that. And so in turn, even though you don't always know your spouse, the way you can get to know them is listen.
And can I say this? I know we got to move on, but not just listening as it relates to verbal communication. There's also nonverbal communication. So when she gets really upset or it seems like she's easily agitated about something, she's really saying, hi, I'm trying to tell you something. There's some type of miscommunication that's happening between us. There's something that you're missing about me that I need you to see. Sometimes when a female gets really upset in marriage or in relationships, it's not necessarily they're just trying to be rude or trying to be attitudinal. They're really saying, hi, I want you to see me. I want you to realize that what you've done or what has happened has hurt me. Or there's something else that I need from you that I'm not necessarily getting at the time. So when you say listen twice, it's not always just what I'm saying out of my mouth, but what I'm saying through my actions.
I think a tagline would be for this right here. If you jot notes down, it would be, no detail is too small when it comes to marriage. So what you hear, what you see, what you notice in body language, what you notice in just inflection of vocal, everything. No detail is too small when it comes to paying attention and perceiving what's happening between you and your partner.
We'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.